Hello everyone, welcome on Narcotech. Here is Nicolas, and today we are tackling some very heavy stuff, so you'd better pay attention. I'm gonna be the apostle of a French pictorial pride, The Bolt by Jean-Honoré Fragonard. We are in 1777. Jean-Honoré Fragonard is 45 years old. He is already a famous painter who offers us the consecration of his art, of his research as an artist, of what he likes to do, like a testimony of his time here with the Bolt. It is an oil on canvas, 74 centimeters high, 94 centimeters wide, and executed so in 1777 and conserved in Paris at the Louvre Museum. There are a lot of issues that arise when we study this painting. A lot has been written, interpreted, even over-interpreted. What we are going to do is to travel into the painting. Remember that a painter, like any artist, is sometimes forced to resort to artifice to hide his message. That's why we are going to progress from the most obvious to the most hidden, and without further ado. So, what do you see? Do not try to interpret immediately. Love scene, rape scene. You have to abandon all your prejudices to investigate. So, what do you see? Two characters united in an embrace. The woman, the man who stretches out his arm to close the bolt that gives the painting its title and who is finally one of the actors of the drama and of the action. This room, this couple, this scene, this destiny is locked. Madame, meanwhile, tries to free herself from this unstable extension where the postures of the two characters meet, half-closed eyes, pink cheeks. She puts her hand on the libertine's neck, but offers a horn to the libertine's assault. See the distribution in space, 1/3 of the painting for the couple and 2/3 for the bed. Keep all of these pieces in your mind, and in the end you will be able to rebuild the entire puzzle yourself. The use of colors and lights form the harmony, the atmosphere of the painting. Finally, you notice that the palette is reduced to 3 colors and the shades they call red, silver white, and yellow, golden, and its shades of brown. The light is felt here as a substance because it catches all the folds of the drapes, and even the absence of light, the shadow. We can say that the shadows are hanging on the drapery. For example, on the canopy or on the table. The light also builds the painting. We can follow its trajectory from the lock, then it goes down, passing to the couple in full light, so it outlines them. It's almost like a spotlight. Then it goes through the corner of the bed to stop on the table and on the apple. This effect underlines the diagonal that cuts the painting in two. From there, you can already see that the colors, the distribution of space, the light, and the construction articulate the wall in a complex way. There is a true reflection, and this complexity of the construction is only an echo of the iconographic complexity. And we are interested now in all this iconography, remembering that the codes of painting are known to all artists and art lovers and the amateurs from the 18th century, and of course the sponsor of this painting, the Marquis de Véri, and so there is no overinterpretation of myself. So we start with this small bouquet of wildflowers at the bottom right. This kind of bouquet worn on the neckline by women, and which has an aesthetic function, of course, as well as a perfume. And at this moment we must remember the lines of Ronsard's verses: "Pluck, pluck your youth, as with this flower old age will tarnish your beauty." We continue and pass by the overturned chair, which highlights the violent aspect of the scene. The apple on the table, the arrival point of light, it is the fruit of sin, Eve's apple, which here is whole, it hasn't been chewed yet. Then the jug. We will think of the painting of a good friend of Fragonard, Greuze, who is in 1771 painted the broken jug, with the same iconography and the same message. Except that in Fragonard's painting the jug is not broken but only overturned. It means that the innocent is still there but mistreated. It is a kind of a still life redundancy at the far left of the painting of what happened between the characters on the far right. We started with flowers, we finish with flowers. Generally you don't see it, this rose, a red rose, and I give you 10 seconds to find it. It is in a strategic place at the meeting point of the three colors of the painting. It forms the keystone of the color. And it is here on the bed where it was left, the red rose for passionate love, of course. I say keystone because it is very appropriate. This rose makes the link, allows the dialogue, the correspondence between colors. And we are going to be more interested in this colors match. White first, this absolutely frightening man's shirt, this crazy quality of the drape, the folds, the sleeve, the color that falls back, and this ass, this buttocks well in front of the spectator. This is the first thing we see, but that's not only what we have to focus on, so everyone keep calm. What is interesting is the correspondence between the lady's petticoat and the bed sheet. Same color, same material, same light rendering, material correspondence, and so iconographic correspondence. And so if we treated this corner of the bed by anthropomorphism, we would easily see a knee, then a thigh, then we go back up this elongated body to the two pillows, including the sharp corners that easily suggest a pair of breasts. Moreover, if we wanted to have fun, we will put this part of the painting in a pendant with a certain painting by Gustave Courbet in 1866, almost 100 years after, kept at the Musée d'Orsay, the origin of the world. With the red then, and if we push even further, we will see in the canopy a shape, vaginal. And if we find a vagina, we have to look for the other part, isn't it? And when we see this prominence, the other part of the canopy, which falls back into this forms of two completely improbable balls, you have your penis. Then who, how, and why did we get to this painting? Well, Jean-Honoré Fragonard was born in 1732 in the pretty little town of Grasse in Provence and died in 1806 in Paris. At first, we thought of him and we hoped him, especially the great philosopher and encyclopedia writer Diderot, that he will represent the new generation of history painters, the great painting, noble, non-historical, mythological, religious, that is to say, the subjects at the top of this gender pyramid. Except that it was not at all what Fragonard liked to do. He liked to make portraits and especially genre scenes. Nevertheless, he did his formal education at the Academy. He attended the studio of the great official painter François Boucher. He went to Rome with Hubert Robert, where he could observe the antiques and the great Italian painters here. He did a fashionable painting under Louis XV and then under Louis XVI. He returned to Italy in 1774, and even if a lot of people went to this beautiful neighboring country, it is not like today where we easily live on a low-cost trip. At this moment you travel for months. And he continued his journey to Flanders and Holland, where he notably admired Rembrandt. It was from this journey and from a failure, since Fragonard was refused an order for the Comtesse du Barry, Louis XV's favorite, that he will demonstrate his ability to renew himself, especially in the face of neoclassicism, which was becoming the new taste, and he will once again metamorphose his painting with more contrast between light and dark, as here in the bolt, and a more controlled blurring effect which will soften the lines and a smoother, more icy touch, less whipped cream if you want. And here this is the culmination of gallant paint. If Antoine Watteau represents the first generation, the creator of the genre, François Boucher represents the second generation, full control and official painting. Jean-Honoré Fragonard embodies the third generation, and we are talking about libertine painting. In fact, I reduced to the simplest, but in truth, it is more complicated than that, of course, but it is true that in this last quarter of the 18th century, we are in 1777. Lots of things are happening. The philosophy of the Enlightenment, the appearance of the Romance novel with Rousseau in particular, the return of historical painting and moral painting, the reign of Louis XVI, and economical problems and the reform of the state, the criticism of the nobility and the system of social orders. The French Revolution is less than 20 years later, and at this time we did not have access to internet, CNN or BBC News, so it takes a little more time for things to start. All of this is the context for the book, and it is a context that Fragonard is not the only one to live. 5 years later, in 1782, a certain CHODERLOS de LACLOS will publish Les Liaisons dangereuses, dangerous liaisons. And I'll be able to make an hour of video on the links between this epistolary novel and on the Fragonard's family, but I can't, so I'll just give you some probative information. Namely, that Fragonard painted the portrait of Marie Guimard, who will play the role of the Marquis de Merteuil in a theatrical adaptation of Dangerous Liaisons. And especially that Jean-Honoré's son, therefore Alexandre Évariste Fragonard, and his sister-in-law and pupil accomplice, therefore Marguerite Gérard, will illustrate the 1796 edition of Dangerous Liaisons. Of course, we can easily say that the boat itself is an anticipated illustration of the Valmont-Cécile or Valmont-Tourvel relationship for those who know the novel. Let's say that it is the atmosphere of the time in any case that allows easy links between these two works, because criticism of the nobility which indulged in libertinism, because libertine social atmosphere, those who are of the high society or close to high society, who get rid of the real problems experienced by a large part of the population. This is the context. With all of this, you understand the interest of this painting, why it is important, why it is exciting, what stage it reveals in the history of art, how it was built, and what the erotic or critical or artistic messages are. Pictures like this is both the intelligence and the soul of the 18th century. So it was all about analysis, fast recontextualization, but the interpretation of this painting, I leave it to you. Love or rape she wants, but cannot, because the Quran forbids her, because she's married and she cannot give into a libertine, even she has passionate feelings for him. All the key to understanding that you have just had allow you to make up your own mind. What we are going to agree on with Rameau's quote, that love is cruel when it is outraged. Here you go. I'm very sorry for my English or my accent, but thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Do not hesitate to tell me what you thought with a comment. Subscribe or share me, and see you soon on Artcotech.